Doom Vivamos Vivamos Epicureans. This is the BCE Comics Pod one-shot edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and today we start a new volume, right? Here we go. This is X-Men Epic Collection, Volume 12, The Gift. No, there has been two versions of this. I looked this up the other day. There was the original printing, which I think I have, which is a 2015, and then there was a reprint.
That's what I got.
Okay, there's a reprint in 2024. So if neither of us have the reprint, then I don't know what kind of differences we've got going on there.
Yeah, I'll say so far this is maybe like my least favorite printing. The pages are a little yellowed for me.
Yep, same.
And it's thicker, but I don't think it's actually bigger. So if you like the bigger and newsprinty paper, it's good. I don't hate it. Like, I am a little worried that mine's a little beat up. I probably got it used. So I have some like remainder marks and some scuffs on the bottom and things like that. So this is one that I almost considered buying the reprint for, just because this copy was a little beat up, but I think it's good enough for me to move forward with. But yeah, it's noticeably yellowed when I compare it to like something else. I don't know how much you can kind of tell on the screen there.
I'm doing the same thing, the one with the bookmark in it. And, you know, in terms of thickness, I've got Volume 11, Life, Death here, which is about 20 pages shorter than The Gift. Boy, it sure feels like The Gift is thicker than it should be, but I don't know if it is. They're pretty close. So, but yeah, I had the same thoughts. Anyway, for this volume, again, since we're reading these and recording these as we go, I'll just give the intro from what is on the back cover. Let's see, it says, finding themselves in the middle of a barbarian nightmare, can the X-Men, Avengers, and Spider-Man restore the world? Things are no less mystical for the X-Men in Alpha Flight when the trickster god Loki offers a gift to the people of Earth, but big surprise, it comes with a price. And blade in hand, Nightcrawler swashbuckles his way through an other-dimensional solo adventure. Enough fantasy for you? Question mark. How about sci-fi, courtesy of Lockheed the Space Dragon and the time-tossed future sentinel known as Nimrod? And for fans of good old-fashioned superheroics, Power Pack meets Wolverine and the Juggernaut's back in town. That sure seems like a lot thrown in here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get to the Nightcrawler miniseries. I have never read that, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it's drawn by Cockrum, if I remember correctly.
Oh, you're right. Drawn and written by, I think.
Yeah. So, yep, writer and artist. So that'll be an interesting read through. And I think this is the first X-Men Epic Collection. Because if you look in the back of this for your 2015 one, there's only 2 volumes listed. It's Volume 1 and this one. And I don't believe that they probably came out around the same time. For some reason, I think The Gift came out first. Although then again, and they must have had the other one announced at that point in time.
Yeah, I don't know. This is before I got into the epics. I got in a little late. So I had to go find those after the fact.
Well, if I'm wrong, it's the second then. So it's the first or the second. Yeah,
it's certainly
close enough.
It is the first of the newer X-Men, right? Not of the traditional Stan and Jack X-Men.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the volume. Today's issue, though, is going to be... Oh, of course, I didn't have the picture of the volume up there on the slide the entire time. We're still learning. It's fine. Okay, today's issue is going to be Uncanny X-Men number 189, Two Girls Out to Have Fun. All right, written by Chris Claremont, pencils by John Romita Jr., and he is joined by Steve Lealoha as a guest inker. I hope I'm saying that right. That sure sounds like a Hawaiian name. All right.
I'm going to go with what you said.
Yeah. You'd think if I was actually good at doing this, I would look this stuff up in advance, but flying by the seat of my pants half the time here. All right, so Professor X and the remaining X-Men bid the powerless Aurora farewell as she decides to return to Africa and leave the team again, now that since she's lost her powers. Meanwhile, and Rachel and Amara, and Amara is the mutant from Nova Roma, who is better known as Magma in her mutant state. They have joined with the team for a little sightseeing through New York City. Well, while the two of them are at the Met Museum, Rachel recognizes the mind patterns of Selene, who is nearby. Selene, the villain that we saw in the previous volume. And Rachel and Amara decide to follow Selene, and she just so happens to be having a meeting with the Hellfire Club. Well, Rachel and Amara thus infiltrate the Hellfire Club to spy on Selene, but then get attacked and eventually rescued by the X-Men. All right, Stojr, what are your thoughts on this one?
So I like this issue a lot. I think there's a lot of stuff going on. I think the art is really strong. I think the guest inker does a really good job, especially as we get into the next issue, because one of my complaints about the next couple issues is the art seems a little washed out and a little bit too light, and you don't get that here. There's some dark, crisp lines over JR's pencils. I think it looks really solid if you're a fan of JR's art during that particular point in time. Starting off with the issue, like I as somebody who lived through 9/11, seeing a shot of New York with the Twin Towers there, I love stuff like that.
And not only that, she's having that vision of the future of the Twin Towers being destroyed. It's like she really is.
Exactly.
She and Claremont are prescient on the clairvoyant, right?
Exactly. So I think all of that is really well done. I like the sort of like giving a little bit more backstory to what this future was like for Rachel and how it feels like what we saw in Days of Future Past, but it's becoming so different as she tells the story. You start to question about whether that was the future she's from or if it just seemed. And my video. I think we went full screen. There we go.
There we go. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So I think that this kind of idea of like the hounds is a really cool concept. It plays into the trauma that she has. As a side note, Selene came from Nova Roma with Amara. And you learn all about that in New Mutants Volume 1 in the Epic Collection. So, that's there's an interesting backstory between these two girls and Selene. Obviously, they reference it as they talk about it throughout this issue. But, if we were reading that, we'd experience that stuff. I think that the art, as we look at like the Hellfire Club, the one complaint I'll have is that Tess looks a little bit too much like Selene, and it's a bit confusing. And I know they're all supposed to be like dressed up in like costumes and kind of playing a specific role, but I was getting a little bit confused with sort of the black dominatrix outfit versus like the black dominatrix outfit that you don't that's a one piece versus a two piece, I guess, is the difference here. Okay, wait, who is this person? Because while Tess may have been like mentioned before, I'm not entirely sure that she was. So this might be our introduction to her as like a standalone character. I don't remember.
I don't either. This lady you're talking about here, right?
Yep. Yeah, and she'll be around for a little while. Like I remember her as a character. I just don't remember when she was introduced. And whether this is the first time we saw her or not. But she's got the same outfit on as Selene, which is a little odd. I think that the splash page that's a couple pages forward with sort of Rachel's whole face and all of the things going across is really good. I think that's a really cool image. I'm a little unsure about like what Selene's powers are. I get like the energy sucking vampire, but I guess she's just like a witch and can do anything she needs to on top of it. And that plays into the whole like magic bothers me stuff, which will be a theme for the next couple issues as we go through this. Yeah. So I thought this issue was a pretty good introduction to the volume. I think like for me, like it really hit home because of the art. Like I think that the art's really strong for the JR stuff. And as we get into the next couple issues, I'm almost disappointed. Like I almost like what JR is doing, but I feel like he's not complimented by like Dan Green's not like putting in his best work, or something's going on there on the next couple issues that we'll talk about more, that detracts from where we're going. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I feel like once again, not reading the New Mutants has done us a disservice, because it does seem like Magma and Nova Roma appear out of nowhere here. Now, I'm a little familiar with that storyline because I had a couple of those New Mutants issues when I was young. My familiarity with Magma, though, mostly comes from the X-Men Legends video game, which came out in 2004, but the Magma that's in that video game is not the same Magma that we have here, right? So I kind of know a little bit what's happening there, but I'm missing out by not reading New Mutants, so I guess shame on me. This picture that I have up here on the comics viewer, you were talking about Stojr. I did really like this one. It's definitely some inventive paneling that we got going on here. We're learning more about Rachel's background. I found it interesting that they call Rachel's face paint a Maori mask. All right. And so we kind of get another instance of some of the international flair of this book, right? The Maori are the native people of New Zealand who have this tradition of tattooing their face. The tattoos themselves, I looked into this, and I might mispronounce this, but they're called te moko, and they're usually considered a symbol of high status and acquired when one comes to adulthood. Women don't traditionally have the tattoos all around their face, but rather from their lip and their chins. So that's maybe a little bit of a departure here. But the face paint that we see on Rachel is not actually Maori face paints, but maybe the Maori practice inspired Claremont to give it that name. I don't know, but I just thought it was interesting. Okay, we're referencing another international culture here, so good on the book for doing that. I think we've touched on everything else I intended to say, although if we go back to the Statue of Liberty, of course, seeing the Twin Towers back there, and we know the destruction of that happens in 9/11/2001, which, of course, Claremont had no clue when this was written. But I find it kind of interesting that in the vision, Rachel is talking about the destruction of the Twin Towers, but it sure looks like it's the destruction of the Statue of Liberty there. So I wonder if maybe there was a miscommunication or something else was happening there.
Yeah, it's a little hard to tell. I mean, I guess that was supposed to be a skyline, from the perspective maybe of the Statue of Liberty, but you're right. Like it doesn't sort of match up with what you're seeing up there. I'm also trying to remember, like historically, like was there like maintenance on the Statue of Liberty in the mid '80s? I feel like that I was like, oh, that must be what it is, but for some reason I thought that was earlier. Like I thought that was in the '70s for some reason.
So yeah, I looked into this. In 1982, restoration work began on the statue, and they completed it in 1986. The idea was to restore it for the centennial anniversary of when the statue itself was completed. So, so that's what they're representing there. It's in the midst of the restorations that are happening. And of course, Stojr, both you and I were quite young when that was happening. So if you have any memory of that, congratulations, because I have none.
No. I just it's funny though, because we there's in the Spider-Man movie that came out a couple years ago. Obviously, it's very different, but they were like, they have a whole battle on the Statue of Liberty, and there's a lot of scaffolding up. So, like, my first impression of that was like, oh, I just saw that in the movie a couple years ago, and then obviously it's real life, and you had to remember when they do some of the changes to it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, any other final thoughts there, Stojr?
No, looking forward to the next issue.
Okay, well, once again, as always, if you've enjoyed our thoughts, follow us on YouTube. We're going to read, rate, and review a full Big Collected Edition comic once a month, plus these daily one-shots. So thank you very much for watching and listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.